Fantastic Monday. Welcome back to the DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is the controversial and huge internet crackdown coming out of one of Donald Trump's favorite places to talk about,
China.
That was a weird pause, but yes, China. This past weekend, China implemented 84 new categories to be censored online. And this is for all forms of media, so you got video, pictures, everything. And among these, they list something called abnormal sexual lifestyle. And inside of that, they include things like prostitution and homosexuality. And in general, this seems to be an extension of a censor rule they pushed through for TV last year. There they state, no television drama shall show abnormal sexual relationships and behavior, such as incest, same-sex relationships, sexual perversion, sexual assault, sexual abuse, sexual violence, and so on. Which personally I have to say that it's crazy that homosexuality is being put in the same list as incest and sexual assault. Also, something very interesting with these new online rules, they demand that online video platforms hire at least 3 professional censors. And their job is to take down any content considered not sticking to the correct political and aesthetic standards. And reportedly, those who don't adhere to the new rules face being reported to the police for further investigation. And most likely this is going to get pushed through. I mean, we're talking about China, the place that has banned YouTube and Facebook. But I mean, just imagine if that happened in the United States. No more superfruit, kicking Scott and Mitch to the curb, lowering the fantastic Connor Franta from the world, hiding the adorableness of Troye Sivan from the public. How dare they? Hell, don't even think YouTube. No homosexual stuff. That's a bye-bye House of Cards. Bye-bye Orange is the New Black. Now, I know talking about this for 99% of my audience, it's going to be somewhat unrelatable because it's China. It's somewhere else. It's a different place that you most likely have no relationship with. But we're talking about this because it's censorship, and we're talking about this because it is China. Let me phrase this a different way. There are about 7 billion people on this planet. China makes up about 20% of the world's population, so they, in a single swing, are censoring something to the equivalent of 1/5 the world's population. And it's not just like homosexuals aren't going to be represented online. They're being censored. They're being put in the same category as incest and rape. I don't care if you're for or against gay marriage. I hope that people can see that is insane. And stories like this just make me sad about the people that are going to have to live through it, but it also makes me appreciate what we have here so much more. But I also realize that last part's just my opinion. This is the PDS. It's not just a show. It is a conversation. So let me know what you think. You agree with me, you disagree with me, you're somewhere in between. Let me know in those comments down below. Then let's talk about something that people shouting fake news. And that news is around massive creator Lele Pons. On Instagram, 18+ million. On YouTube, now at just about 5 million. Each video averaging 4 to 6 million. And she recently came under fire for posting this picture to Instagram with the caption, "Donated my hair. First time I ever cut my hair. What do you think?" Okay, so why were people angry? Hair donations, awesome. There are a bunch of fantastic places, I'll link to them down below, that they'll make wigs out of human hair for like kids with cancer, women with cancer. Well, the reason people got angry and started shouting fake news is they zoomed in on the picture, and people pointed out that it looks like the hair they're claiming was just cut off of Lele is actually a bunch of extensions. One of the biggest posts pointing this out has been retweeted over 75,000 times, and asks, "Care to explain how you chopped off your hair and donated it, Lele? Last time I checked, you can't donate extensions." And from there, that story blew up, with others then chiming in saying Lele could not have donated her hair anyway. It turns out most donation organizations don't accept bleached hair, and more people jumped on saying Lele was just doing this for the fame, she's an egomaniac. And finally, Lele responded to all this outrage, tweeting, "1. To help clear any assumptions, I cut my hair with the intention of donating. Sadly, after trying, I learned charities who donate wigs don't accept color-treated hair. And 3. So I'm finding other ways to help those affected by hair loss because of cancer. This is still a priority for me." After this, reportedly, Lele declined requests for comment, but did provide a picture of what she said was her real hair. And so for me, I think the situation boils down to a question I feel like we have to ask more and more. Is it evil or is it stupid? Because that's kind of the 2 options we get. You either have someone that knowingly faked a hair donation because they wanted to change their haircut, but then got exposed, or you have someone that legitimately wanted to donate their hair but did 0 research before getting their haircut. Also, you end up having to ask, did a friend cut it for her? Or did she go to a salon to get the haircut, but then the salon for some reason did not inform her that her hair would not be eligible? And at what point did Lele learn that her hair would not be eligible? Was it before or after she posted that picture with extensions? Because if it was before, you could argue, well, she was just so antsy to get the word out. They were getting her real hair ready, so they just used some extensions because, you know, it's the point that they're trying to get across. Or do they take and post this picture after they learned the truth, in which case it's just a grab for attention? And so what's the answer? Bad person? Stupid, well-intentioned person? I don't know. Telling the difference between the two feels harder than ever these days. Let me know what you think. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in awesome. And the first bit of awesome is the amazing trailer we just got for The Dark Tower. You're gonna see more of badass Idris Elba, evil Cool, Matthew McConaughey. I am on board. Just release the movie. Get it out there. I'm ready. Then we got a brand new trailer for Geostorm where they try to show us that there's actually a story involved, which that's fine. I'll watch Gerard Butler move around and say words, but it's really just a disaster porn movie. All right, we're all on the same page, and you can take that as a bash if you want. I will watch this movie specifically for this purpose. Then we got a cool video from a YouTube channel by the name of the Infographics Show. They did a really interesting video called What a Dollar Gets You Around the World. And if you want to see the full versions of everything, I just shared the secret link of the day. Anything at all. Links, as always, are in the description down below. And then let's talk about the story that is blowing up out of Minneapolis. And the way the story goes is Jennifer LeMay and her family were camping in Wisconsin. And while they were doing that, a friend stayed at their home and watched their dogs for them. But late Saturday night, LeMay's two daughters, one 18, the other 13, decided to come home early. Reportedly, the 18-year-old had an early shift the next morning, wanted to get home. So the two daughters get home at 8:50. One of them accidentally triggers the alarm. LeMay said she phoned security and the alarm turned off at 8:54. But unfortunately, that is not where the story ends. At 9:15 p.m., two officers arrive at the home. And according to LeMay, neither of the officers knocked on the front door, but one did jump over her fence. And there's video evidence of this part that is now online. We see the officer looking at something, he goes out of frame for a second, he slowly backs up. We see he has his weapon drawn, he is pointing at something, but what? We see a dog, it's wagging its tail, it's slowly approaching the man, and then he opens fire on the animal. A second dog approaches, he opens fire on that animal, then he hops back over that fence. Reportedly, after the shooting, the other officer then knocked on the front door, and at that point, the 18-year-old explained to the police officers that the alarm accidentally went off. Now, as far as the two dogs, one was shot in the jaw, the other was shot in the side, face, and shoulder. According to LeMay, the family didn't immediately take the dog to emergency services because the police officers said animal control had to come first. But LeMay said no one showed up. Eventually, they did take the dogs to the hospital. Luckily, they are alive. Reportedly, one dog needs $5,000 worth of surgery, the other $7,000. A GoFundMe has been set up for the medical bills. Over $17,000 has been raised so far. Also, the police incident report around this said that the dogs charged at the officer, which part of me has to question because we only see the one dog wagging its tail approaching the officer slowly, and we only see the other dog charge after we see the police officer shooting the other dog. But there is an investigation, so right now we just have to wait and see what happens. And then let's talk about the craziness around Madrid's Mad Cool Festival and Green Day. They were both facing a ton of backlash over the weekend, and the reason for this revolves around a horrible accident that happened to Pedro Monroy. Pedro was performing on Friday where he was in a cube that was suspended above the stage as part of a tribute to Prince when he fell in front of a 45,000 person crowd. The box was hanging from a crane. Reportedly, it looked like Pedro did have a harness, but he fell. Paramedics spent 30 minutes trying to revive him, but they were unsuccessful. But then, shortly after this incident, the show went on. Green Day took the stage and performed. And there was a lot of outrage, people saying, how could you just go on stage and perform even though a man just died here? And soon after, Green Day released a statement, writing, "We just got off stage at Mad Cool Festival to some disturbing news. A very brave artist named Pedro lost his life here tonight in a tragic accident. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends." But many weren't buying it and they continued to criticize Green Day. One commenter writing, "What? You start 30 minutes late in front of 45,000 people and don't ask the organizer why? I don't buy this. On top of all, you start with Bohemian Rhapsody's opening line, 'Mama just killed a man.' It made me sick and I just had to leave the show. My last Green Day show and definitely my last Mad Cool." Another writing, "Horrific scenes tonight. Watched a man fall to his death and nothing was said. Shame on you, Mad Cool and Green Day for not even acknowledging it." Now, there are also people defending Green Day, saying, they always open with Bohemian Rhapsody. And as far as how do they not know what happened until after they performed, Billy Joe of Green Day released a statement online saying, "Green Day did not hear about the accident until after our show was over. We didn't even know there was an acrobat performance at all. These festivals are huge. We were in a backstage compound about a half-mile away from the main festival stage. We were warming up, ready to go at 11:25. 15 minutes prior, our tour manager was told by local authorities to wait to go on stage because there was some sort of security issue. Security issues are a normal occurrence and procedure at any show. We were not told why, which is also normal. We waited as we were instructed. Still, we had no clue there was any such incident. Everything seemed normal. The crowd and fans had a good time. We got off stage and drove back to our artist compound, and it was there when we were told the shocking news about Pedro. All of us were in disbelief. I don't know why the authorities chose not to tell us about the accident before our concert." And so that statement brings us back to the question, why did the Mad Cool Festival continue the show? Well, they've since issued a statement where they said, "The decision to not stop the festival immediately was made between the state and local security forces as well as our security management." Adding, "In this situation, it was officially deemed unsafe to have a large mass of people moving all at once, with the possibility of violent reactions due to a sudden cancellation of an event of 45,000 people. The safety and security of the fans at the festival was of the highest order and it was not compromised." But I want to pass the question off to you. Do you think that Mad Cool was in the wrong here? Do you think Green Day was in the wrong here? What do you think and why? I'd love to know. That, really quickly, I don't normally jump into UK politics unless it has an international impact. But really quickly, I did want to talk about Tory MP Anne-Marie Morris, who's currently the target of mass outrage because she was recorded saying this.
And then we get to the real nigger in the woodpile. it is in 2 years. What happened? This never incidentally.
I lived in the South for about a decade, never heard that phrase in my life ever. Apparently, it's believed to have come from slave times in the United States, specifically in reference to black people who were using the Underground Railroad to get to the North. It appears to be in reference to black people hiding in stacks of firewood so they could avoid detection during their journey. And after this audio recording came out, Anne did respond saying, "The comment was totally unintentional. I apologize unreservedly for any offense caused." Okay, question. When you say unintentional, do you mean unintentional like a sneeze? Or do you mean like you were thinking of another word? You're like, I'm gonna say ninja, ninja, ninja. Ah, no. I mean, I get it. There are a lot of old phrases that are offensive to some that are still used in common times. Indian giver. Oh, I got gypped. But if your phrase involves the N-word, how did you not get that memo? It's not a great look, but what will be very telling is the response to this in general. And not just from opposing parties, from the party that she is a part of. And then let's talk about Trump at the G20. We had Ivanka in the news, Donald Trump Jr. in the news. We'll start with Ivanka Trump. Photos came out from the G20 that seemed to show Ivanka taking her father's seat at the summit. This post blew up saying, Ivanka Trump, unelected, unqualified, daughter-in-chief is representing the United States at the G20 summit. Some saying it's nepotism at its finest. It's a slap in the face to the other world leaders. Although Angela Merkel of Germany defended this move while talking to reporters, saying the delegations themselves decide should the president not be present for a meeting, who will then take over and sit in the chair. Ivanka Trump was part and parcel of the American delegation, so that is something that other delegations also do. It's very well known that she works at the White House and is also engaged in certain initiatives. And Donald Trump also defended Ivanka, tweeting, "When I left conference room for short meetings with Japan and other countries, I asked Ivanka to hold seat. Very standard. Angela M agrees. If Chelsea Clinton were asked to hold the seat for her mother as her mother gave our country away, the fake news would say Chelsea for prez, to which Chelsea Clinton replied, Good morning, Mr. President. It would never have occurred to my mother or my father to ask me, were you giving our country away? Hoping not." Then we had Donald Trump Jr. in the news for an alleged meeting he had with a Russian lawyer. So reportedly, the New York Times received a classified document. They said it was leaked to them and it disclosed a meeting between the Trump campaign and a Russian. Reportedly, the people involved, you have Donald Trump Jr., Paul Manafort, and Jared Kushner meeting with a Russian lawyer named Natalia Veselnitskaya at Trump Tower, New York. And Natalia reportedly wanted to meet to discuss possible collusion between the DNC and Russian agents. Now here's where some think that Donald Trump Jr. got caught in a lie. The day before the article goes up, the New York Times talks to Donald Trump Jr. They ask him about the meeting, and he says it was solely about Russian adoptions and plans to resume them. The Times then confronts Jr. with the information they have, and then Donald Trump Jr. states, after pleasantries were exchanged, the woman stated that she had information that individuals connected to Russia were funding the Democratic National Committee and supporting Mrs. Clinton. Her statements were vague, ambiguous, and made no sense. No details or supporting information were provided or even offered. It quickly became clear she had no meaningful information. The conversation then switched to the topic of Russian adoption, and he says it became clear to me that this was the true agenda all along, and that the claims of potentially helpful information were a pretext for the meeting. Now, as far as Natalia, when she was reached for comment, she said, nothing at all about the presidential campaign was discussed at this meeting, stating she never acted on behalf of the Russian government, and that she never discussed any of these matters with any representative of the Russian government. But the thing is, that's kind of a non-story. This meeting has been publicly revealed in the past by both Manafort and Kushner. And as far as Trump Jr., he is officially separate from the Trump administration. He never obtained security clearance, so he never had to just throw this information out there, but he did respond to it. Although in March, when talking to the Times, he did say, did I meet with people that were Russian? I'm sure I did, but none that were set up. Here's the kicker, none that I can think of at the moment. And certainly none that I was representing the campaign in any way. Donald Trump Jr. also defended himself on Twitter today, writing, obviously I'm the first person on a campaign to ever take a meeting to hear info about an opponent. Went nowhere but had to listen. But with that said, let's talk about President Trump himself. A lot has been talked about with Trump and the G20, but I did want to hit on cybersecurity. Trump finally met with Putin, and here's some of the stuff he had to say. Trump writing, I strongly pressed President Putin twice about Russian meddling in our election. He vehemently denied it. I've already given my opinion. Putin and I discussed forming an impenetrable cybersecurity unit so that election hacking and many other negative things will be guarded and safe. And he goes on to talk about Obama, servers, the DNC, but that last line, that caught a lot of people's attention. Donald Trump talking to Vladimir Putin about making a cybersecurity unit. And it wasn't just Democrats that responded. You had Lindsey Graham.
It's not the dumbest idea I've ever heard, but it's pretty close.
You had McCain speaking out.
I am sure that Vladimir Putin could be of enormous assistance in that effort since he's doing the hacking.
And also Marco Rubio chiming in with a tweet, partnering with Putin on a cybersecurity unit is akin to partnering with Assad on a chemical weapons unit. And I do personally have to say, it's a very odd thought that we have our president saying this while we've also had our top intelligence officials in front of Congress. When asked if Russia interfered with our election, this is the response we got.
Yes, Senator. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes. Yes.
And seemingly in response to the pushback from those tweets, Trump later tweeted, "The fact that President Putin and I discussed a cybersecurity unit doesn't mean I think it can happen. It can't, but a ceasefire can and did." And in that last tweet, he's referencing a Syrian ceasefire. But for many, it raised the question, why are you talking about cybersecurity units with Putin if you don't think that it's actually possible? It just seems strange. The president is publicly talking about a cybersecurity unit with Russia, even though top intelligence officials say Russia is the one that interfered with us. And while he later says that he also doesn't think it's a real possibility. It just doesn't seem to make sense. And that's where we'll end today's show, confused and slightly exhausted from all of the mental gymnastics from the left and the right today. Yeah. And remember, if you like this video, you like what I do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you don't miss these daily videos. And if you missed the last Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. If you want to watch today's brand new behind the scenes vlog, click or tap right there. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.